Have you ever just stopped and wondered why some people seem to build wealth almost effortlessly while other people, maybe with the exact same opportunities, just stay stuck? It's a question that can honestly keep you up at night, right? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down the answer.
See, the real difference isn't about luck or waiting for someone to give you permission to succeed. It's about something way deeper, something that you and only you have complete control over. And that's your mindset. This is like the invisible software shaping every single financial choice you make, and it determines whether you're moving towards freedom or just spinning your wheels.
So let's get right to the heart of it. The path you're on financially is almost entirely decided by your internal operating system. And that system, it generally falls into one of two very, very different categories. Just figuring out which one you're currently running is the absolute first step to changing your entire destination. Okay, and this right here is the fundamental split. It's perfectly captured on this slide. A survival mindset is kind of like being in a tiny raft, just getting tossed around by the waves of life, constantly reacting to whatever comes your way. But a growth mindset, that puts you in the driver's seat. It's the belief that you are the one who builds and pilots your life, asking, okay, what can I do to create the outcome I actually want? Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because it shows the ambition behind our thinking. You see, a survival mindset sets these small, safe goals that keep you in a comfort zone, even if that zone is super stressful. I mean, paying the bills is important, of course, but if that's your main goal, it just keeps your world small. A growth mindset, on the other hand, sets goals that feel a little uncomfortable, maybe even a bit scary, because they force you to learn and to stretch, and ultimately to become the kind of person who can achieve them. And this right here brings us to the source of all personal power. When you blame your circumstances, you are literally handing your power over to something or someone else. You're basically saying, I'm not in control. But the moment you take responsibility, not for the problem, but for your response to it, you take all of that power right back. The question immediately flips from, why me, to what's next? Okay, so having a new mindset is awesome, right? But it's pretty useless if you don't do anything with it. And that brings us to our next section, the engine of daily progress. We're going to look at the two forces that turn your thoughts into actual, tangible, wealth-building reality: self-discipline and habits. I want you to think of self-discipline as the muscle of success. It's what gets you to make consistent, long-term investment decisions even when fear is screaming at you to sell. It's the force that makes you save when you really want to spend, or learn a new skill when you'd much rather just relax. It is the bridge between your goals and actually reaching them. So if discipline is the muscle, then habits are the automated system that keeps you moving forward without completely draining that muscle. I mean, think about it. Nearly half of what you do every single day is on autopilot. So the real question for you is your autopilot programmed for financial growth, or is it programmed for staying stuck? So how do you actually program that autopilot for success? Well, research shows it's not some big mystery. It really boils down to these three key components you see here. First, you need the right context, the right environment. Second, you need repetition, doing it over and over. And third, your brain needs a reward. It needs to feel good for doing it. And this just brilliantly illustrates an idea from author James Clear. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. That's what good habits are. They're your personal systems for success. A system for saving automatically, a system for investing regularly, a system for learning every day. That's the stuff that creates real long-term results. You know that classic saying, your network is your net worth? Well, it's not just a cliche. It ties directly back to context, that first step of habit formation we just talked about. The people you surround yourself with, they create the social cues that either support your financial goals or totally sabotage them. They literally shape your conversations, your expectations, and your opportunities. And get this, research actually proves this is true. Being around people who have already achieved what you want to achieve just normalizes success-minded behavior. You start to absorb their habits, their mindset, and their knowledge just by being around them.
It is one of the most powerful environmental changes you can possibly make.
So, we've got the mindset, we've got the engine of habits. But what's the fuel for this engine on the long journey to financial freedom? Well, that brings us to our third section, investing in your growth. This isn't a one-time thing, it's a lifelong commitment fueled by what you put into your mind and how you use your single most valuable asset, your time.
And here we hit another one of those massive forks in the road. A fixed scarcity mindset thinks, okay, I'm done with school, my learning is complete. But a growth mindset, one of abundance, knows that the world is always changing, and the moment you stop learning is the exact moment you start falling behind. And look no further than someone like Warren Buffett for the perfect example. One of the most successful investors in history doesn't see learning as a chore. He sees it as the most essential part of his job. Why? Because knowledge compounds over time, just like money. Every new thing you learn connects to the old stuff, creating this incredible, powerful web of understanding.
Which all boils down to a really simple choice you make every single day. You decide what to do with your hours. Are you spending them or are you investing them? Spending time feels good right now, but it leaves you with nothing later. Investing time, yeah, it might be harder in the moment, but it builds an asset like knowledge or a skill that pays you back for the rest of your life. Okay, I know this can all sound like a lot. We've covered mindset, discipline, habits, growth, but how do you actually get started? Where's the first step? Well, the good news is it begins with small, deliberate actions you can take starting today. You don't need to change your whole life overnight. This is the playbook. First, start with just one tiny habit, saving just a few dollars, reading 2 pages of a book, whatever it is. Second, make it a daily thing. Consistency is what builds that discipline muscle. Third, get rid of distractions. Make it easy for yourself to succeed. Fourth, track your progress. It's so motivating to see how far you've come. And finally, the golden rule. Don't break the chain. Hey, one bad day happens, it's fine, but never ever miss 2 in a row. So in the end, it really does all come down to this. Building wealth isn't some big single event. It's 1,000 tiny daily choices. The life you really want is built in those small, consistent actions, all guided by a mindset that believes growth is always, always possible. The choice is yours, and it starts right now.